This episode of Inside Golf Podcast is brought to you by Inside Sports Network.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Boston Capital, Twiddle Steve on the Hold the Green podcast.
All right, we are live. Tapping birdie.
All right, Carson Young is here.
I bet Ludwig at 28.
Let's go. I bet
You
him
do
at,
too?
I bet him at 25.
Low sevens. I think there's some guys in here we like.
Harris English at 7,300.
I love Brian Harmon at 3.5% this week.
USA, USA, USA. Let's go. Happy Sunday. Captain Keegs beats poor Tommy Fleetwood. It's your boy Capper with Twiddler Steve. How you feeling, man?
That is quite the transition from the smooth tones of Otis Redding at the beginning, by the way.
I can imagine. That's going to be fucking jarring.
It probably is. For anybody who listens on Spotify or Apple, you don't get the intro, or you get the intro there. You don't get it on YouTube here. But yeah, that was quite the thrilling finish. Shades of collapses from another guy who actually was in the mix today as well that maybe we can get to as well. But yeah, that was brutal, but your boy came through and you had absolutely $0 on him.
$0. Oh no, I had him in DraftKings, sir. But you know who else was on my single entry with him?
Victor Hovland.
And who else? Who else did I text you about earlier?
Eric Cole.
Oh yes, that's right. I had two cocksuckers fucking withdraw on a Keegan team. Beautiful. Thank you. I hope I don't know how I hope they die. I'll come up with like a really bad way for them to die, but I want them both to die.
Okay. Well, Eric Cole may be on his deathbed. Apparently he had the same illness that Harry Hall had. I saw someone post in the Discord that Harry Hall nearly withdrew on Saturday. He had to get hooked up with an IV bag. It was bad. So someone else made the joke that the Iranians poisoned all the pizza in New Haven, Connecticut. That was a very good joke. That I hope they got a lot of likes. I don't think that joke got as much recognition and likes as what I think it should. That's a very good zing right there. No, that got everybody off.
But first of all, Dave can go fuck himself. Fake fan Capper. I've been Team Keegan forever, Dave. You can fuck off. I just didn't bet him because I didn't like the number because I live in Florida and it was like 28-1 when I could bet him. So yeah, no, I'm good.
No, mistakes were made on both of our ends. Thankfully not for the entire crew of Ball Nowhere's After Dark.
Everybody crushed it.
Yeah, community win right there. Only accessible if you are an insider to Inside Sports Network. A lot of Keegan tickets hit this week as well. You and I were circling around it on the betting show, and we just veered right into a ditch with our guys. So
hey, listen,
it happens.
It happens. Mm-hmm. It does. Hey, listen, you would expect me, like Dirt McGirt, like Capper is fully erect here. I'll even put it on the screen. Because Fleetwood lost. I don't think I've had more pity for someone who's lost than what I just watched Tommy Fleetwood do. That was so hard to watch because you knew it was coming. It was this poor guy, man. Like I legitimately feel bad for him at this point. I just do. I just feel bad. Like, man, he even gave him the read. That's the craziest part about it, man. And he went and faced the media, unlike his boy Rory, who fucking mushed him. Apparently, Rory called him the winner prior in an interview. He went and faced the music, talked about it, went through his process. You can tell he's obviously upset. I feel so bad for Fleetwood.
Okay. Can we talk about something that maybe people did not notice except for me, who is just obsessed with wind and weather and everything?
Sure.
So Fleetwood got shafted on his approach shot on 18. So because you could see like it was a great shot right behind him on, and he had a wedge, and you could see the flag fluttering pretty significantly. And he probably accounted for a little less club at that point. And just thinking that, because the wind was coming from, I think it was helping off the left. So that would have helped him maybe club down a little bit. And as soon as he hit it, the flag stopped. So the wind went away. And that's why he left it so short. I think the wind got him at that point. And that's just incredibly bad. That was bad luck number one. Also, maybe people aren't going to account for, not only did he have to watch Keegan stick it to like 5 feet.
People.
Yeah. But Russell Henley, who
I
needed to bogey so Scotty Scheffler could get the top 5 and actually have a pretty good week for me. Otherwise, it was just only up a unit despite going 8-1 on round scores on Friday. That's not great. But no, he needed Russell Henley to bogey. I need Russell Henley to bogey, but he also chipped in. And again, like right after it happened, like you can just see, like, I just picture in his head, like, it's like, really? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I just cannot win. And CBS, to their credit, did a good job panning close-ups on Tommy, seeing the anguish on his face, the frustration. And it just seemed like it was destiny for him to leave it, 6 feet short.
Oh my God. It was giving Keegan the line. It was insane. I couldn't believe it. It's insane. This poor prick. They finally showed his dad. His dad looks like, first of all, his caddy had open heart surgery apparently. So I need to be a little more team Tommy, maybe. Like Bullet Tooth Tony is what his caddy looks like. And that's an old reference. I'm sure nobody gets it.
No, Snatch. There you go.
Yeah, which is an old reference, Steve. The movie's 20 years old.
That's true. That's sobering right there. But continue.
And then they showed his dad. I've never seen Tommy's dad before. Had you ever seen Tommy's dad before?
No, because we never had a reason to see Tommy's dad.
Never.
No.
I just like, I even texted because not Tommy Fleetwood, Tommy, everybody who listens to this show knows Tommy's one of my best friends. And we text back and forth, and he was like, yeah, let's go, Keegan. I was like, yeah, I really want Keegan to win, but god damn, do I feel bad for Tommy if this goes wrong. And we were texting back, like, I how do you come back from this? I know he's had bad losses before. And look, what he said in his press conference was 100% right. Like, look, I haven't been in a position to win in a very long time. And I know people break my balls, basically, right? About not being able to win. But I haven't put myself in a position all year. So this is my first position all year to win. And I led for 71 holes. But holy fuck. Did every person on the planet know he was missing that putt? Because I did.
Yep. No, it just we've watched Tommy for well over a decade at this point. Well, no, for anybody who followed the DP World Tour, it's been at least a decade or so. He really first broke through at Aaron Hills in 2017.
I think our boy Matt Gannon was like, that was DP Tour as fuck. I was like, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Shout out Sebastian Soderbergh on that stuff. So no, like, look, I mean, Tommy didn't deserve to win today based on how he played. Anyways.
No,
if you look at all the stats, he played awful for the most part.
He played. He had a 2-shot lead with 3 holes to go, and he played +3 over his first 4 holes. Like,
right?
It's insane how bad he plays on Sunday. Like, we shit on Lowry. Listen, I feel bad for him at this point. I really do. Like, I don't want to dance on Tommy's grave. I really don't. It's so bad.
Yeah. Well, to be frank, I mean, all 3 guys kind of played like crap today. Like, Keegan hit the ball very good. He drained some bomb putts.
He hit it when it mattered, sir.
Okay, fine. All right. Don't get so defensive. I mean, Russell Henley did typical Russell Henley things today, missing a bunch of putts too. Like that putt he missed on 15.
Oh my God.
Played wide open.
Amazing.
He missed a similar putt on 16. Just a lot of those putts. We've seen from, Russell Henley missing in contention a lot. But Tommy collapsing today reminded me of a lot of gutless Russell Henley Sunday performances.
That's fair. That's a good call.
Where he's clearly doesn't have it for the day, but he's just hanging around, leaving the door open, and then finally somebody goes and takes it. That's exactly what happened to Tommy Fleetwood
I
today.
thought on 17 when he ended up in the bunker, Tommy was putting that shit in the fucking water. I was like, oh no. It's like that's 100% water ball. And I was like, oh, okay. He didn't do it. Oh, maybe Tommy's gonna do it. And then 18 happens. Unbelievable.
No, at least Tommy had the wherewithal not to put it in the water, unlike Colin Morikawa on Saturday. That gutless loser that we'll have to talk about a little later. But no, that's a top rate for Tommy Fleetwood. Another one.
I don't want $300,000, and you want to take money out of Capper's pocket, you fucking scumbags.
Yeah. Well, top one for Tommy Fleetwood. Congratulations again to everybody who had a Keegan Bradley ticket, Andy Black, and Rishi, Kyle, a lot of guys in the Discord.
A lot of guys, man.
Had Keegan Bradley. Great play, great pick. Andy had a really good DFS pool this week as well. They were very high in Jason Day this week. Yep. Great week for them. Great for ISN. So definitely go over. If you're not an insider already, we got the Open Championship coming up pretty soon. We have 3 very affordable packages. You can go weekly, monthly, or annual. A lot of good stuff. If you're only an insider, not only do you get Andy's articles, Ball Knowers After Dark, it's the only place where I record my round scores or my weather thoughts. Pretty good job nailing that. I don't typically give myself a lot of credit for stuff, but the weather angle I kind of nailed this week, especially Thursday.
Steve, you always nail that. Always nail that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I kind of get in my own way sometimes. I need to be more aggressive with some of these takes.
You need to be more aggressive?
Yeah.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked. You need to be more aggressive. Yeah.
I know. But great week at ISN.
Dave says it. Vic Lappin, Steve. You fucking did it, dude. You do this all the time. You crush the weather splits. You crush what we do for round scores. You do it for showdown. Take the lap, dude. You're fucking killing it, man.
It's not my comfort zone of Vic Lap. I kind of I want the results to speak for itself, and I didn't have a great rest of the weekend, and that's kind of.
You grew up Catholic as well?
I did. I grew up Catholic.
Yeah, that's
watching right now. He knows exactly.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. That's grew up Catholic. It's like I don't know how to take compliments. I get it. I need to go to confession.
Yeah. Well, you wanted to talk about Ryder Cup. I think that's really about it for the Travelers. I think the only thing I want to leave from the Travelers is I kind of wish we had a crappier ending. This is me being going to negative town because
I understand. I know exactly what you're talking about. 100%.
I don't want this to be elevated anymore.
Nope. But it's going to be.
It's going to be
because of the last 3 years. Wait, Keegan, Scotty, Keegan.
Yeah. You got the fact that Keegan won in such dramatic fashion with the intense crowd support behind him.
Oh,
it ensures that it's going to be here. And like, I get it. It's got some good, exciting finishes. I'm done watching this golf course, thrust into the spotlight on us. I really just I'd rather it be a non-signature event and see like lesser players play it. Just kind of have it a little bit more of an easy week. I'd rather next year it would be a Detroit Golf Club because not only, as I'll talk about, it's going to get renovated, which I think they're going to do a great job. I just want to see something different. So, but
agreed.
We'll have it just back at TPC River Highlands again next year. Signature event after the U.S. Open. After Shinnecock Hills, after another very grinding, exciting week, and we'll have to go there again.
So I will say this. What's funny is, so obviously I listen to Boston sports, and so the radio's like, the way the PGA pitches it, because I obviously never heard like radio ads. They're like, hey, they have the full field event. You get to see all the best players play, and that's their pitch, man. It's that's their pitch. Like, oh, you get to watch Rory for 4 rounds, whether he does well or not. And that was the big radio pitch. I'm like, I guess you want. I don't know. Connecticut sucks anyway. So I guess they're like, hey, how do I get Connecticut people out? Be vanilla and suck.
All right. You want to transition to a little Ryder Cup before we
let's go.
All right. So I guess the first question is, well, you know what? Let's play this game. Okay.
Oh, what game? Do you have a game? You surprising me with a game?
I mean, it's a pretty simple game. It's just called in or out. Okay.
Oh,
so as we sit right here with the Ryder Cup, and this is also your chance to just crap on a bunch of players as well.
what I'm excited
Just
about.
say in or out on the team. So let's throw.
Do I
Let's
get
say
to more?
Scotty Bryson automatically on the team. No questions asked. Okay.
Scotty Bryson.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just get the elephant out, in the room out of the way. Should Keegan be on the team?
Yes.
Okay. Is it should he or will he? Like, will he pick himself now? I think he has to at this point.
So I guess here's what I think, right? So he went, didn't he go on record saying if he wasn't on points, he wasn't going to pick himself?
Yes, he did.
So he's a guy from the Northeast, and we will keep to our word to cut our nose off to spite our face. So hopefully, maybe the guys who are on the team will be like, hey, man, I know you said you wouldn't, but will you please fucking play? I don't want Daniel Berger fucking playing on this fucking team versus you, because Daniel Berger sucks balls at golf, and I would rather you. Like, look at imagine this at Bethpage. Like, maybe he's not even the playing captain. Maybe he can get Snedeker in or Tiger or somebody, and then he just plays, and then he goes to the next one. What's the next one? Is the next one in Ireland?
Yeah, that's at the K Club in 2 years, where Tiger, I think, is going to be the captain.
So make Tiger the captain now, and then I don't know, and then let fucking Keegan do Ireland. Oh my God, a Northeast guy, fucking Irish. I don't know if he's Irish. I assume everyone, because I'm Irish from the Northeast, is Irish. Yeah, I don't know, man. He's got to play, right? Like, he's so much better than these fucking stiffs that are gonna play.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want him coach. I don't want him coaching these guys up. He dapped up Henley when he made that putt. Was that on 15, 16? Which was great to see. I'm like, okay. He's like, I'm playing the captain role, but he needs to play. If he's a good enough player to play, he needs to play.
Okay. There's a very easy solution with the captaincy. Just name Davis Love the third and assistant captain. Done.
Yes.
Because he led the last two U.S. Stricker led the last one, but he was at Medina. He was captain of Medina, did a great job. Captain at why is the name escaping me? The one in Minnesota, Hazeltine, captain there. So obviously he's got experience, President's Cup experience. Like, he can just defer to all the captaincy to him, and Davis Love can handle it. And yes, Keegan should play.
He should play, right? You agree with me? He should play?
I 100% agree. Based on the stats, based on the fact he's won. Yes, he's won 3 times the last 3 years. He has to be on the team.
He has to be on the team.
Colin on the team.
No.
Okay. All right. By default, he's on the team. Xander.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Justin Thomas.
Reluctantly. So reluctantly.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now we're going to get into some interesting names. Ben Griffin.
As of right now, let my vote today.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I agree. He should be on the team. If we ended it right now, he is one of the best 12 Americans playing golf right now. 2 top 10s at majors, almost won the Memorial.
Stupid fucking aviators and everything. I don't care.
Yeah.
Whatever.
He's driving the ball really good, and that's going to work well at Bethpage Black if they set up that way. And he should absolutely be on the team at this point.
And Dirt McGirt, Cantlay is 100% on the team regardless. Unfortunately, I know he stinks at golf, but he's no hat Pat, and he argued for everybody to get paid now, so he's 100% on the team because he was the one to get these guys an extra $150,000, which is life-changing money for most people, but nothing for them. So it really means nothing. Cantlay is the most worthless corporate shill piece of shit on tour.
All right, but he's going to be on the team. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
I love how
7,
Steve is
8.
just like,
we got 8 guys.
blow right through.
We got 8 guys. Okay.
Yeah.
Spieth, we don't know what's going on with him with his neck.
So
we'll see.
Do we think it's a neck?
He said it was shoulder and then it went to his neck.
That's usually how it happens.
Kind of like what I'm dealing with right now, to be honest.
That's what I was gonna say.
So we might not see Jordan Spieth in a little bit.
Hopefully he has better medical care than I did when I was in Iraq and I went to the medic, and I was like, "Hey, my shoulder's really fucked up. I did this in a fire," and they were like, "Here's some ibuprofen 800." And then like 8 years later, I'm like, "Oh, it clicks every time I move. Super fun."
All right, let's assume Spieth is super.
But I don't think Spieth should be on. I don't think he should be on.
I don't. I mean, he's been so up and down.
So
All
up and
right.
down. Okay, so we'll put him off to
maybe
side.
the injury will be enough to keep him off. JJ Spawn on the team. I feel like you have to. He won the U.S. Open. He's been playing pretty solid this year. Lost half the players.
Second of the players.
Yeah, I feel like you should be.
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with Spawn.
All right, so that's 9. Sam Burns.
Who are my other options?
Russell Henley.
I'd rather Henley than Burns.
Okay, so that's 10.
All day, every day.
Daniel Berger.
No, absolutely not. If I will fucking lose my mind if Daniel Berger is somehow on this fucking team. He hasn't done anything in fucking forever.
Besides blow top 20 bets on Sunday for a lot of people.
Thank you. Exactly.
Yes. That's what Daniel Berger's been mostly been doing this year.
I will lose my fucking mind.
Okay. How about Scam Young showing some form? Not this week, but showing some form recently.
Not this weekend.
No. Would you rather have Sam Burns or Cam Young?
Sam Burns.
Okay, so that's
Would you have
11.
gonorrhea or syphilis? Jesus Christ.
All right, so that's 11. So then your final spot's going to come down to like Matt McNeely, Cameron Young, Harris English, Patrick.
Give me
Reed.
English.
You want Harris English? You want Goober?
English. Give me English.
Okay. All right. I
he's
think that's
done it. He's done it. He's proved it. Like, yeah, why not? He's playing great golf. Why not? Why would Harris English should be way in front of like Burns and Berger shouldn't be the conversation with Harris English. Harris English should be 10 steps ahead of fucking Daniel Berger. Harris English just played in the Ryder Cup, won on the Ryder Cup, wins tough tournaments, actually does things. Daniel Berger is a fake stat, whoever the fuck. I hate Daniel. The fact that Daniel Berger even gets spoken about to be on the Ryder Cup is fucking insane. Insane. Harris English should be 100% more on the team than fucking Daniel fucking Berger. Get out of here.
All right. I can't wait for Daniel Berger burner accounts to come after us on YouTube with
calling you out.
What? Like Sam Burns burner accounts last week. Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right. So your team then is Scotty, Bryson, Colin, Xander, Ben Griffin, Patrick Cantlay, Justin Thomas, Keegan Bradley, Sam Burns, JJ Spawn, Russell Henley, and Harris English. It's not bad.
I'm sure if you give me a little time, I could pull some of those guys out.
That's better than what
we were picturing.
I was thinking might shake out.
Correct. Yeah.
Like it sounds like the back end of the U.S. team is kind of starting to get together. Like even like Sam Burns. I know you don't like him. He's been playing better golf lately.
He's been playing better golf.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. How do you finish up today? I wasn't paying attention because
he didn't do much.
On my single entries and in my one and done, I had Hovland and Eric Cole who just took all the money out of my pocket. That was super fun. I really hope they choke and die wherever the fuck they go. I hope a plane crashes in very icy waters for Vic as he goes back home to Norway. And Cole lives in Florida, so I hope an alligator eats him.
Okay. I think that's going to be your lasting comment here. So, all right. You got any other thoughts on Ryder Cup Travelers before we?
No, I mean, look, I think, man, listen, I was shitting on the stupid no-cut events, and they do suck. Look, at least Travelers has given us 3 years in a row. Like, well, I guess no, because Scotty ran away with it last year. So I don't know. 2 out of 3 years they've given us decent product. Yeah, it's I don't know. We're moving on. Christ, it's Detroit this week. At least we don't have to talk about Phil not showing up because he owes like a bookie $250,000 this year.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. How did that not make my slideshow?
Yeah, man. Yeah, you got to put on a slideshow.
Oh, I might have to.
Come on. You
All
gotta,
right,
you gotta weave the mafia stuff in with me.
All right, next year, that's your response. I'm gonna make a note for next year that you
All
have
right.
to prepare the Phil Mickelson not showing up because they wrote a mean article about him owing money to a bookie.
Oh, it's not even a
And
mean
Detroit.
article. It's about real motherfuckers saying, "Hey, you owe me money. You want to show up in Detroit? Let's go."
All right.
Like legit people, like serious people, capable people. If anybody who's listening knows what capable people means, capable people.
Okay. I will make a note for next year. So similar to like I make notes about agronomy and weather and like things to remember when we do this next year. That's your responsibility. I need a 15 slide PowerPoint on
I can
this
do
topic
that.
for next
Oh,
year.
I can do it. You know, I
Okay.
can do it.
Perfect.
All right.
All right, buddy.
Listen, I'm gonna leave you to Detroit. I'm gonna go finish playing games with the kids because now I'm gone I won't see them for another 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. Yeah, I'm basically traveling until like now until the end of August. Oh no, the end of July, mid-August. So, but Sunday nights come up, do recaps, and then depending on how the children are, I would like to stick around for some of the previews because I learn a lot. But Detroit, I don't give a shit about. And they want me to finish the game. So
Okay. What game are you playing, by the way?
We're playing Azul.
What is that? Azul.
Right. Azul. It's a blue in Spanish.
Yes, I know that.
Okay, well, I was just explaining. Not everyone knows Steve.
Okay. Explain, please.
So it's a strategy game where there's 4 people playing. You have to pull certain tiles from certain places, and you have to kind of like think of where you're going. And it's a strategy game. And I play it with my wife and my 2 young ones. And it's a great game. It's fun.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sure they're eagerly awaiting you to pull your next
Yeah,
tile.
they get very upset at me because I don't take it easy on the children. I will completely cut their throat.
You shouldn't. That's how they learn. You think I was easy on my kid at Go Fish today? No. Those don't match. Those 2 cards don't match. You got to pick them back up.
Yeah. So I will say this though. So like I was like obviously I had kids I had my first one when I was 20, and then Ava came along. I was 23. Super testosterone environment, military firefighter, and I think I might have broke them for games. And I think I broke the oldest one for competition where I'm like, you're being like unhealthy. Like I learned, and I was like, oh no. So I'm trying to change it a little bit with the little ones. But listen, man, life's hard. They got to get a helmet, and this is a board game. So if you're going to get upset about this, figure it out.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining me, buddy. You have fun tonight with the family, and I will see you on Tuesday.
Tuesday night.
Okay. All right. Bye. Take care, bud. All right. Well, I am going to take you. Having trouble there. There you go. Okay. Well, I'm going to take you guys the rest of the way here with the Rocket Not Mortgage Classic. Thank you, Dave, for pointing me in the right direction that apparently Rocket has rebranded. They don't want to have mortgage in their name anymore. They're just Rocket. So it's the Rocket Classic for the 2025 preview. So let me bring up the slideshow right here. And here we go. This is the Rocket Not Mortgage Classic 2025 preview. I believe this is the 14th hole. I think this is part of the 513 or the 413 challenge. Or no, 313 challenge. I'm sorry. I didn't get the correct brand activation correct for this tournament. The 313 challenge, if you don't remember, is if you eagle this hole, if you birdie this, if you ace the 15th and then birdie the 16th, I think it's like $1 million, I think, to the person. I don't know. I forget. But no one's been able to do it, obviously, because it's hard to make an ace. People have, gotten a little close to it. But yes, this is the 14th hole at the Troy Golf Club. Now, the next slide I want to show you is this. By the way, this is the original master plan from Donald Ross. So this is, so the Detroit Golf Club was first built in 1899. It was first a 9-hole golf course. They ended up buying more land to the south here. They wanted to expand it into a full 36-hole complex, the North Course and the South Course. So they brought in Donald Ross in 1914 to basically survey the land and come up with 2 18-hole golf courses. And he ended up, it's a very tight piece of property. I'll show you the overheads in a little bit because it's right in the city of Detroit. It's, if you look at the rest of the area, it's basically neighborhoods. It's a very tight piece of property. There's just, only so much you can do as far as the routing, but he ended up creating 2 18-hole layouts for this tournament, the North Course up here and then the South Course here. Now, obviously I have an affinity for Donald Ross golf courses. Being from Rochester, there are 5 really good ones in Rochester, New York. You got Oak Hill, obviously, site of multiple PGA championships, but you got the Country Club of Rochester, which is about 2 minutes away from my house, Irondequoit Country Club. You also have Brooklyn and Monroe Golf Club. So Donald Ross has a lot of ties to my community. So, I think sometimes, and, Capper kind of, they mentioned it, like, doesn't really care about this tournament. I think maybe there possibly could be a negative stereotype about the Detroit Golf Club because it's played really easy. And, Bryson's kind of dumped on this course a couple times. But, Donald Ross golf courses are great. They're classics. But unfortunately, what can kind of happen over the sands of time and where mowing lines kind of, end up shrinking greens, you get sand cats build up, which kind of basically create kind of bumpers and greens. Like it kind of, the greens kind of lose a lot of their character over time. Sometimes it happens with bunkers as well, that just Donald Ross golf courses can look a little tired and old. And that's kind of what happened in Detroit Golf Club. And I'll show you in a little bit, but the members are very proud at the Detroit Golf Club. And, it takes a lot of guts to decide, we're going to put some money into renovating the golf course to restore it to some of its natural Donald Ross characteristics. And that's what the membership did. So in 2024, they approved Tyler Ray to come in to do a Donald Ross-esque renovation to the golf course. So this is what it's going to look like. And there's a couple of things they're going to do. One, they're going to expand the greens back to the original specs. They use overheads and aerials in the master plan, which I just showed you in the last slide. To expand greens, what I just mentioned, Donald Ross greens can shrink over time because of mowing lines. Just gradually they get smaller and smaller and you lose pin positions. Well, they're going to reclaim a lot of those with the new green expansion, kind of like what they did at Oak Hill recently as well. They're going to rebuild all the bunkers as well. So those are rebuilt in the late 80s. And one of the things that they happened was due to cost constraints, they took a lot of the bunkers, they shrank them. They didn't put any liner on it either. And because they're so small, a lot of members would complain that they get very poor lies in a lot of these bunkers. It'd be up against the lip. It would make it very difficult for them. One of the things they noted when they were looking at the old Donald Ross design was a lot of these bunkers that you kind of can see it here is a little atypical from what he would actually build. They have a little bit more steep sand faces and really nice concave bottoms to where, you don't really have to worry about lip issues. So a lot of balls, if they end up in one of these fairway bunkers here, it'll roll back and you can actually give yourself a little bit of a chance. They're a little wider as well. You can kind of see this is just a visualization of what they want it to look like. This is the 13th hole here, and you can see a lot of these bunkers kind of jut out a little bit. They've narrow the fairway a little bit. They're a little bit more inconvenient off the tee. They come in a little more in plates too. So this is what they want it to look like. This is what the 13th does actually look like, though. And this is, I think, why maybe some people kind of poo-poo this tournament, this golf course a little bit. And you can see, as I just described, the bunkers have shrunk over the years due to cost constraints that they did when they rebuilt them. You can see where members might complain about poor lies with, how small they are here. And then here's the greens. A lot of times if you got a Donald Ross golf course that just hasn't been renovated in a while, you can see how they shrink over time here. You can kind of see it here. You can probably make out where, the greens might have, had a little bit more fall off but with the mowing lines kind of creeping in, they're just small circular shaped, sloping from back to front, guarded by 2 greenside bunkers here. And that's kind of what you see at Detroit Golf Club right now. But, I'm really looking forward to the renovation that Tyler Ray is going to do. Unfortunately, it's going to be after this tournament. So who knows though, maybe it'll be like the Memorial a couple of years ago where they had the bulldozers ready, and as soon as the final putt dropped, they just started ripping up the golf course. They kind of let it go to hell that week. You saw it also at Colonial as well. The 2023 tournament, the big golf course basically died mid-tournament. Unfortunately, I don't think the weather is really going to allow that this week, but who knows? Maybe they'll just kind of let this thing get a little hairy, a little more dicey, and not quite as easy as what we've seen at this place. But one of the things I've always liked about this golf course and breaking it down is the par threes at this golf course. And it reminds me a lot of par threes I see at Oak Hill, and you can kind of see with the state of what some of the par threes are at the Detroit Golf Club and what they ended up renovating some of the ones at Oak Hill, you see definitely the Donald Ross characteristics. And, with a lot of par threes with Ross courses, there's good variety. You got your long par threes, you got also some short par threes that pose some different challenges. So this is the third hole, which plays the sixth hole in the tournament. And, you can see it's a raised green. It's guarded by a front bunker here, 2 on the side. And it's got, a low laying collection area for any balls of, funnel down to the right here. And, one of the things that kind of makes it a little intimidating for this approach is there's just not really anything around it. It's kind of messes with your depth perception a little bit. There's not really a lot of good aiming points, and just kind of just sitting there on an island per se. And it reminds me a lot of the 15th at Oak Hill. And this is what that looks like after the renovation here. You got the collection area down to the right, the squared off green as well, the raised green as well. So this might be something that the newly renovated green will look like once they expand the green, redo the bunkers. This might be a little bit more what you'll see here. This is the ninth hole in the tournament. This is a longer par 3 at the Detroit Golf Club. It's 207 yards. It's guarded by 3 bunkers to the left over here to collect shots that fall a little short, bunker to the left here. You can kind of make out, it was hard to get a good picture of this hole, but you can make out that if you hit it a little long and left, you can see it kind of falling off on the back here. And that reminds me a lot of the 11th at Oak Hill. This is the post renovation as well, where you can see that little tiny collection area along left here. So, if we go back here, maybe they can expand the green and reclaim a little bit of that, and it'll look a little bit like this. So there's a lot of potential to Detroit Golf Club once they renovate it. It just needs a little bit of a touch up and a makeover. And then here's the 15th. This is where I think this is where the grandstands are going to be. Again, this is another raised green guarded by bunkers on all sides. Again, it's meshing with your depth perception a little bit because it's just kind of sitting out there on an island, not really a whole lot around it. And it reminds me a lot of the 5th hole that they basically created from an old practice green at Oak Hill. Again, just like a tabletop green, squared off edges, similar shape green as well. So again, this is kind of what Detroit Golf Club used to look like, but then over the sands of time, as the green shrunk and the bunkers kind of deteriorated a little bit, it turned more into this. But as long as they kind of stay true to the Donald Ross characteristics and design philosophies, I think it can look really good. I'm really looking forward to what it looks like next year, which is why I want this to be a signature event next year that actually has a really good feel, because I want this golf course to shine and be spotlight. Because I just feel like, this tournament has kind of just been jammed in the schedule. It doesn't really get a good field. Not a lot of buzz around it. And Detroit, not only its members are very passionate golf fans, the city of Detroit and Michigan in general is a great golf state, and it deserves to have a signature event. So here's the tournament fact sheet. So as I mentioned, Donald Ross, it opened in 1916. There's been a couple of renovations over the year. Robert Trent Jones did a lot of tinkering of this golf course through the years. And then Tyler Ray next year will do the full Donald Ross restoration. Par 72, 7,370 yards. Agronomy wise, so the rough is a bluegrass mix, 4 inches. Seems like it's pretty thick, but we'll get to some of the stats in a little bit. Does not create a whole lot of issues for these guys if they find the rough. We're dealing again with bent POA greens. We just came off of bent POA greens at TPC River Highlands. We saw it at TPC Toronto a couple weeks ago as well. And those can be kind of tricky to where, depending on the mix of POA to bent or bent to POA, they can roll a little differently. If it's a little bit more of a bent grass mix versus POA, it rolls a little smoother and truer. I think TPC River Highlands seems like it's a little bit more of a bent grass mix because, it's not quite as inconsistent as bumpy as some of the other ones. Or you saw with TPC Toronto, those were mostly POA greens. Those were definitely more inconsistent. It was harder to make putts, and it made it a little more difficult. And I know that there was a great video that came out in like 2019 when they first came to Detroit Golf Club. They were talking about the grass types with the superintendent, and they confirmed in the video that this is 80% POA, 20% bent grass. So this one is definitely going to be more on the inconsistent, bumpier side versus some of your other bent POA greens. And that actually will bear out in the stats where it actually, like, if there is a defense to the Detroit Golf Club, it is in the greens because it is typically pretty hard to putt on these greens from any distance, under 5 feet, 5 to 15 feet. It's just hard to hit putts because of not only the Donna Ross characteristics of the greens, slow from back to front. If you're pin high, you got to account for a lot of break. If you're above the hole, it makes it a little more difficult. But also the mostly Poana composition of the greens as well makes it difficult to putt on. 5,150 square feet is the average green size. It's a little smaller than PG Tour average. Obviously, as years have gone by, the greens have shrunk a little bit. So that accounts for why it's, a little bit smaller greens there. Average fairway width 30 yards. I'm going to have to, there's what's his name? Motown Mike in Discord. He's a Detroit Golf Club member. I'm going to have to ask him about this because the fairways last couple of years are pretty wide, and that kind of accounts for a lot of the drive accuracy rates as well. Those on average are like between like 35, 40 yards. This is 30 yards. So I'm not sure if this is another example of like what they did at the Memorial where they took the average fairway width of the entire hole and it kind of averaged to like 25 yards, even though the landing areas are like 35, 40 yards. I'll have to ask him if they actually shrunk the fairways this year for this tournament, maybe because they're going to change everything and, rip it up. I can confirm, though, that one of the things they did do this year ahead of the renovation, they cut down a lot of trees because, like they did at Oak Hill, they removed a lot of trees. It helps with agronomy. Well, they cut down a lot of trees already. That's going to open up the golf course a little bit. This definitely was not a golf course where that would dissuade you from hitting driver a whole lot. Guys hit driver a lot here. But I'm still pondering what the removal of trees might do to the overall handicap. I'll have an answer maybe on Tuesday. But that's one note that he did make for this tournament, that there are significantly less trees on the golf course this year. So let's go over the strokes gain difficulty by category. Obviously, this is not a very stern ball striking contest. You can see it in the scoring numbers. You can see it in the stats these guys put up. The variety of golfers usually sometimes at the top of the leaderboard. So I'll save a lot of the off the tee stuff for the next slide, but this is not a very difficult golf course off the tee. One of the easiest off the tee tests on the PGA Tour as far as the ability to gain strokes relative to other tournaments. It was one of the top 10 easiest in 2023 and 2022. I'll get to that in a little bit. Approach play, also relatively easy as well. So there's a little bit higher volume of short approach shots at the Detroit Golf Club. A lot of these par fours are not all that long. A lot of the length in this par 72, just under 7,400 yard golf course, would be in the par fives, and a couple of the par threes that are over 200 yards. For the most part, though, a lot of these par fours are relatively soft or relatively short. There's not incentive to keep driver in the bag, so guys are basically just bombing it out there, and with a lot of warm, muggy conditions, the ball can fly. And there's a lot of short approach shots into these greens. There's not a lot of water hazards or trouble really around the green either. That can account for why these are pretty easy approach shots for the most part. And around the green, relatively easy for the most part. It mostly depends on where you miss it. So most greens, pretty much every green at Detroit Golf Club, you have a wide opening to the front, which is mostly short grass, where you can either bounce the ball up to the green or it allows you to putt from it. That usually, when you get those types of situations where you can pull putter from the short grass, normally that means it's a little easier than some other golf courses. So, and this is no exception. This is one of the easiest golf courses to get up and down from the fairway because you can pull putter from the front of the green. The rough, there definitely is a little bit more difficulty. Kind of depends on where you miss it. Most of the rough around East Green would be on the sides and long. And if you play a lot of Donald Ross golf courses, you definitely cannot go long of the green. You'll get punished because the ball or the green slope from back to front. And it's just harder to control the ball chipping out of the rough, and gravity kind of takes over. You're fighting that at that point. So that would be where it'd be a little more difficult. Bunkers, a little bit hit or miss, kind of depends on where you miss it. Most bunkers kind of guard front, left, or right, or to the side. So if you're in one of the front bunkers, again, you're, basically getting out of the bunker to a green that runs uphill. You can be a little more aggressive with it. There's a little more margin for error. If you do find yourself in one of the bunkers that maybe are to the side, that one can be a little more difficult because you have to count for more break, a little bit less room for error. So, but for the most part, though, getting up and down for the bunkers, because a lot of them are mostly in the front, a little bit easier than PGA Tour average. So that is why that's not really a big challenge either. So tee to green, not a big challenge. As I just talked about, though, because these are mostly Poana greens, they're Donald Ross greens, they have some undulation to them. If you are above the hole, you got to be very careful with it. If you're below the hole, you can be aggressive. But this is a golf course that typically has pretty difficult greens to putt on for the Poana, the Donald Ross nature, and it reflects in the stats too. Last year was one of the top 10 most difficult greens to putt on the PGA Tour. So let's talk about more off the tee, though. So you would think, looking at this golf course, very tree line, 35-yard wide fairways, though, that presents, pretty generous landing zone, but, tree lined, you would think, okay, well, that can be kind of difficult. Well, for a lot of guys, they like tree line fairways because it gives them good aiming points to look at off the tee. It's very wide fairways. There's no penalty areas really to speak of unless you hit it out of bounds or in the parking lot. Or in someone's yard. You have a very low penalty rate usually off the tee for missed fairways. So this has one of the lowest missed fairway penalties on the PGA Tour, at least for the last 3 years, and it goes back all the way to 2019. I remember Bryson DeChambeau, when he was talking about this golf course, what did he win? The 2020 Rocket Mortgage Classic. He basically said he was just going to bomb it everywhere, take it over dog legs. A lot of the bunkers are pretty... most guys can carry a lot of the fairway bunkers. It doesn't matter if you're long or short. You just kind of can take them out of play. You can cut corners with dog legs as well. And even if you do find yourself in the rough, which, it's about average penalty, because a lot of these greens are pretty wide openings, you can do kind of the Bryson strategy where most of the time it's going to be more of a shorter approach shot in. You can kind of bounce the ball up to the front, get up and down, no problem. So this just isn't a big, there's not a lot of penalty for missing fairways here, and there's not really a whole lot incentive to keep driver in the bag. And that's why this has one of the higher driving distances, per drive on the PGA Tour the last couple of years. Last year, it got some wind that kept and I think some rain as well. So that kept the driving distances a little down. The ball wouldn't roll out very far, but like in 2023, average drive 298. 2022 303. Usually this time of year in Detroit, it's pretty hot, pretty muggy. You get a lot of carry distances. The fairways are pretty firm as well. Ball just rolls forever. So, and with the fairways relatively wide too, you see pretty high drive accuracy rates as well. 66% last year, 67% 2023, 63% 2022. Probably because the fairways are maybe a little firm, balls were bouncing in, but relatively high fairway percentage. Guys pull driver lots, not really a whole lot of penalty for missing the fairway here. That's kind of the name of the game this week, is driver heavy golf course, kind of blast it where you can, and relatively easy fairways to hit for the most part. Let's talk about proximity buckets. So another reason why this is one of the easier scoring tournaments of the year is there's a higher concentration of shots from under 150 than the PGA Tour average. So if you get a golf course with a relatively high driving accuracy rate that has a lot of short approach shots, usually that's where your birdies are, and that's reflected here in the proximity buckets. So definitely a golf course where you have to take advantage of shots from under 150, get good scoring looks. Also a fair amount of shots over 225. Those are your 4 par 5s, and they're all reachable. So basically the name of the game this week, and there's kind of a dead zone between like 150 and 225, where I would think that would be more your classical ball strikers who are really good with your mid to long irons. Kind of a dead zone this week. So it's a lot of short irons, take advantage of your par 5s. That's how you end up getting winning scores above 20 under at this place on a golf course that just doesn't really have a whole lot of adversity tee to green to it to really trip these guys up. So let's talk about some comp courses. This is from Data Golf here. And, you definitely can see based on some of the guys who have been very good at these other places versus how good they are at Detroit Golf Club. You see a lot of crossover. So the no one, most recent one, there's others that they haven't played in like a decade that are on the list. So I filtered those out, but TPC Craig Ranch is one that has a lot of crossover guys do very well there and here. Like, I think about Taylor Pendrith, one of Craig Ranch. I think he came like top 5 at this tournament. I think in 2022, the year that Tony Finau won. Obviously, it's a driver heavy golf course. Other than last or this year's Byron Nelson, relatively wider fairways, not a big missed fairway penalty. That's a nice crossover there. Albany Golf Club, even though there's a high missed fairway penalty at that place, very wide fairways, generous corridors, driver heavy. That's good link there too. Renaissance Club, same thing. Kind of, driver heavy golf course, not a big missed fairway penalty. PGA National, that's way more penal at this place, but that's mostly around the green. As far as off the tee, though, there's not a big missed fairway penalty because, well, for different reasons, because it's very difficult to approach shots. But you typically see some guys who are pretty good there and here as well. Silverado, that's, I think, a very good comp, not only because of the bent poet greens, but also just bombs away, no missed fairway penalty. El Cardinal, wider fairways, also doesn't really, even though bombers you would think would do well there, there are shorter guys that can do pretty well at that golf course too. And you see that in some of the leaderboards on the Detroit Golf Club. We'll get to in a little bit. And actually, you can see it here on the skill set chart is there's a lower correlation of distance to performance there and accuracy. Basically, all that means is because of how easy the off the tee conditions are, where most guys can carry bunkers, it's relatively generous corridors. A lot of these shorter hitters can benefit from rollout and the hot humidity. They can get some big carry distances too. You can definitely have a shorter hitter do well here. I think for me personally, probably going to target length for an outright, but for DFS purposes, maybe you get the narrative of just bomber, and you get some maybe low ownership and some shorter guys who have had success here. And there definitely have been shorter guys who just are really good drivers of the golf ball and put themselves in really good scoring positions. They might have a lower ownership. That might be something to consider this week. But for outrights, yeah, I'm probably just going to do a bomber just like everybody else. But yeah, like you can see with this list here, you definitely can see some crossover. And it's mostly, I think, off the tee conditions for the most part. Let's go over some past tournaments. There's a lot of heartbreak for me at the last couple of Rocket Mortgage Classics. Cam Davis, Mr. Rocket Classic, 2-time winner here, scored one with 18 under. I think kind of came out of nowhere too. He wasn't playing all that great last year. And then I don't know if he showed form before this tournament, but like it was kind of a surprise he ended up winning this week. I had Minwoo Lee, who had a wedge on 18, and Minwoo Lee did exactly what he does with a wedge in hand. He airmailed the green because he's not a serious golfer sometimes. But he was in the mix here. Akshay, I remember, was the one that really blew it this tournament. I think he had a 6-footer either on 17 or 18 to tie the lead, and he missed it. But yeah, like, I mean, for the most part, if you look at this leaderboard here, at least last year, a lot of length. A lot of guys who were leaders in driving distance in the tournament populated the top of the leaderboard here. The only ones that really didn't was Aaron Rye, who just hit every single fairway. Known to man that week. You had Akshay, who's not the longest hitter either, but hits a lot of fairways. Eric Cole as well. So shorter hitters definitely can have a little bit more success here, but for the most part, last year it was mostly bomber heavy. But you can see, like, as far as like how you separate yourself in tournament, off the tee was not a great way to separate yourself, at least compared to other PGA Tour golf courses. Again, because of just the lack of penalty for missing a fairway, and it's just relatively easy conditions. Around the green as well, definitely not a way to separate yourself from the pack, probably because of the really high green regulation rates. If you are trying to get up and down a lot at Detroit Golf Club, you're probably going to miss the cut, because about 74% green regulation rate for the most part, if the weather's really good. It really came down to just an iron contest and a putting contest, especially putting last year. Way easier to separate yourself through your putter than other PGA Tour venues. And you can see it here. Most of the guys in the top 10 were some of the putting leaders on the week, which can be kind of difficult because these are greens where it's hard to make some putts. And actually, if you go back to this slide here, there's actually a lower correlation to someone's putting skills coming in to success at Detroit Golf Club. It's kind of random, but in-tournament putting is very paramount. So that's kind of a challenge this week, is you basically got to kind of pick, okay, who's going to putt well this week? It might come out of nowhere. Maybe ride guys who might be a little weaker profile putter, but riding a hot putter coming in. But you can see, like, it basically was an iron contest and a putting contest. Again, like, if it's a lot of birdies, the irons are your scoring clubs, and then you got to convert with the putter. No surprise there. This stupid tournament, the 2023 Rocket Mortgage Classic, I hate this tournament. This is actually number 2 on my personal paying rankings. Because for a lot of reasons. Number one, I had Colin Morikawa and Adam Hadwin. They were in the playoff. But Ricky Fowler was mega chalk that week. Ricky was having a great year. He played pretty well at LACC. He got in the mix at a couple tournaments. And Ricky Fowler was 15-1, and people didn't care. They said, Ricky is Mr. Rocket Mortgage. They see him in all the commercials. He's going to win. And we actually had a troll on our old show. We were doing our betting preview, and he was just adamant. He was spamming our chat saying, talk about Ricky. Like, Ricky's going to win. I'm like, we just roll his eyes. Okay, like, really want to bet 15-1 Ricky Fowler, most tipped in the chip sharp, go right ahead. And then this dude also, I did another video where I think I did like 1-1 picks or like something. And he kind of said some negative comments about it. And I just wanted Ricky Fowler to basically die at this tournament. And I hope everybody lost. Well, came down to the playoff where, Ricky Fowler was leaking oil down the back 9, doing typical Ricky things. It looked like Adam Hadwin was going to wrap it up. Colin was making a big charge on Sunday. And Colin had, I think, an 18-footer that was, he was pin high, big left to right sweeping. I still can see it in my head, and it lipped out on 18. And, it's like, okay, I got Adam Hadwin, though. He's leading. Ricky Fowler's leaking oil. And Ricky hit an awful drive at the end of regulation 18, but it was heading towards the ditch there that bisects the fairway, but the rough saved it. And then he ended up sticking it to 3 feet, luck box, and converts the putt, gets in the playoff. Playoff hole comes up. Ricky hits an awful drive, slices it off the planet on 18. Hadwin hits a great tee shot. Morikawa hits a great tee shot. Fowler is way over in the crowd, but due to just the preferential treatment that these guys get of TIO, he was able to pick his ball up, place it down at the great angle, had a great lie, and then stuck it to 10 feet below the hole, while Hadwin hit like a mediocre wedge, and Morikawa hit it past the hole, and he hit it like 2 yards too far, and it bounded in the rough. If it just landed about a yard shorter, probably would have spun back to the hole, and maybe the playoff continues at that point. But At that point, as soon as those two things happened, I saw Ricky Fowler get the TIO relief. I knew he was hitting the putt. And then everybody got their big win. And I was left holding the bag. And not only that, that was the final show before I went off to have my kid. And I disappeared for about a month and a half. So that sucked. I hate this stupid tournament. But that's what happened basically at this tournament. The only thing really to kind of look at with this leaderboard, vastly different off the tee profiles, though. Way shorter hitters did way better this tournament here. And I think that actually explains when you go back to the slide where we look at the skill set chart, just the lack of correlation in drivers. And I think it's really this tournament, the 2023 is driving it, where like, Fowler, he's got adequate length, but he's not the longest guy. Morikawa obviously is not the longest guy. Adam Hadwin, Lucas Glover was at the top of this leaderboard. Justin Lauer, Alex Noren, Peter Malnati. The only bombers they had here was Taylor Moore and Peter Kust. Really the only ones that and Steven Yeager too. But for the most part, again, this tournament came down to just your in-tournament iron play and how you putt it. And the exact same thing if you look at the within event correlation chart here, more ability to separate yourself with the irons at this tournament compared to PGA Tour golf course and in-tournament putting, and less so with off the tee play and around the green. So you're seeing this theme here. And then in 2022, this is when Tony Finau basically turned into the best golfer in the world for like 6 months. Started to putt very well. I mean, Tony kind of basically pitched a perfect game at this tournament. He averaged 311 off the tee and hit 80% of his fairways. That is how you end up leading the tournament in strokes gained off the tee. He also gained about a shot and a half per round with his approach play, gained a shot per round with his putter, and that's how you run up to a -26 and a 5-shot win at that point. So, but again, like this is back to more what you usually think about with this tournament where bombers prevail. Obviously, Finau, Taylor Pendrith, Cam Young, Steven Yeager, Taylor Moore, Wyndham Clark. A lot of guys with a lot of length did very well here. Tom Kim also did well. He's a shorter. JJ Spawn did well this tournament too. But again, though, this was the tournament where mostly the guys with their irons the best on the week and putt the best were the ones that rose to the top of the leaderboard. You can see within a correlation. So that's kind of basically what I'm looking for this week, at least for outrights, which have been a complete shit show for me the last couple tournaments or so. It's probably going to be somebody with length who wins this, who gets a hot putter. And that's probably going to be the profile I look for a guy who wins. With positionals, obviously I'm just looking for guys that can put up a lot of birdies, pretty good from short irons. That's kind of the name of the game this week. I mean, it's not a difficult handicap for the most part. And I'm looking forward to what they do this golf course next year with the renovation. But, it's basically going to be more of the same. Unless we get some crazy weather or they let the golf course go to hell, it's going to be very similar to what we've seen the last couple of years here. So here's the model then that's spit out. And, it's a little jarring for me to see Ben Griffin number 1 on the model. But he's been playing some great golf the last couple tournaments. I weigh a lot of, recent form, at least of the half the model that's just general strokes gain stats and everything. I mean, there's definitely a fair amount of recent form. And Ben Griffin was spit out number 1 in the model over Patrick Cantlay and Colin Morikawa. And, if you think about Ben Griffin, he's gained a lot of length. He drives it really good and he putts pretty well. Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be any surprise why he would be number 1 on that model that basically will reward those kind of skill sets this week. Good with the short irons too. So he's number 1 on the model. Patrick Cantlay, number 2. Colin Morikawa, number 3. Luke Clanton, I think that's just a byproduct of just still picking up rounds last year. And he's good at he was good at TPC Deer Run, and he had some really good finishes in the fall. He's a big driver, and I think that's probably why he continues to show really highly in the model. But you know what? Look, I mean, like this would be a type of tournament golf course where he would win, where his driving can excel. Maybe he gets hot with a putter, makes a lot of birdies, and falls into a win. So he's number 4 in the model. Alex Smalley, just probably I'll pay my tax and bet the outright with him and lose again. But he's number 5 in the model. Akshay Bhatia 6, Keith Mitchell 7th. Rio hits a Sunni number 8, playing pretty well, good golf this year. 9, Keegan Bradley. 10, Max Grazerman. Pretty sure I will be betting Max this week. He just, you look at some of the comp courses he's been good at on that list there. And he's got a top 25 finish at the Renaissance Club. He's got a top 10 Memorial Park. Big driver, good putter, makes a lot of birdies. I think he's got a top 10 here as well. I think a couple years ago. So that'll probably be somebody I end up betting. Playing, a little better lately. He played good for the most part of the Travelers, but he had a bad Sunday. But yeah, Max Grazerman, probably someone I'll be betting. Harry Hall, Dave's boy. He's probably going to be on my radar this week. Torbjorn Olsen, probably on my radar too, just because I feel like there's a lot of things. And I think eventually, as we play TBC Toronto more, probably that will become a comp course to this place as far as like the skill sets. And Torbjorn did really well at TBC Toronto. Probably I expect similar things from him this week as far as he's a really good driver, can guy how with the putter. I think that leaderboard that we saw in TBC Toronto probably will play out pretty similarly to this one. So he's number 13 in the model. Tony Finau, Kevin Yu, starting to get how with the putter again. Another guy who's really good at TBC Toronto. I can definitely see me betting him. Cam Young, obviously playing pretty well. He's got that putter kind of heating up. Other than this week, 17 Andrew Putnam, 18 Victor Perez, 19 Eric Cole. Hope get better, Eric Cole. Sorry you screwed over everybody this week. 20 Kurt Kitayama, the Ponzi scheme himself. I'm not going to fall for it this week. You shouldn't either. He is a model fake at this point. 21 Steven Yeager, who might have my interest this week. 22 Hideki Matsuyama, who's just playing bad golf. And I'm sorry, guys. Like he has a good outright number this week, and sometimes he can just turn it on like that, but might not be my tempo this week. 23 Michael Kim, 24 Alex Noren, 25 Ryan Gerard, 26 Jacob Bridgman. That's somebody who I can just see jarring a bunch of putts this week and doing pretty well. 27 Ricky Fowler, 28 Carson Young. That's going to make our producer Cameron very happy, probably because of maybe some of the El Cardinal comps, and he hits a lot of fairways, good with more shorter irons. He's up high in this list. 29 Matt Kuchar and 30 Jake Knapp. I mean, I think he's going to be a very popular pick this week just because bomber narrative, birdie, caveman golf a little bit. Man hits ball far. One guy that's just outside the top 30 that I think could hold my interest this week, Wyndham Clark, not a very good finish today, but starting to play a little better golf. Showed a little bit of signs of Travelers. He's got a top 10 here in the past. He's got good success at like Memorial Park with a low miss fairway penalty, Renaissance Club with a low miss fairway penalty, driver heavy too. That could be somebody that piques my interest. I would expect when the Travelers numbers are updated and I rerun this model, he will rise up the rankings a little bit with a pretty good week. Because a lot of his recent form has kind of been pretty bad, but he's starting to show some signs. That could be somebody I get behind this week, where driver heavy, make a lot of birdies, shorter irons. That could be something I can see myself betting this week. So that's it. We will get rid of this. So thank you very much for sticking around after Capper left. I hope you guys enjoy. This is how the show is going to be for the next month or so, where Capper will join at the beginning to recap the tournament. Then I'll move on to drone about the golf course and give you stats and generally what to look for this week. So thank you for watching. Make sure to tune in on Tuesday for our betting show. If you haven't done it already, either subscribe to our YouTube channel, give us a like, give us a review. We loved hearing from you. Also subscribe to our podcast on Spotify or Apple. Give us a review as well. We haven't had one of those in a while. That helps tremendously. And, and definitely subscribe to ISN, become an insider. A lot of sharp minds there. Be a part of our Discord community. You definitely won't regret it. So with that, thank you for watching. We'll be back on Tuesday for our betting show.